Hey guys, have a lot of breaking news to bring you this morning. As you likely already know, and as Soccer brought you yesterday, a would-be assassin attempted to take the life of President Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania, leading to horrifying scenes and one rally goer killed, two others in critical condition. We have a lot of updates for you this morning that I wanted to bring to you, including statements from Trump, statements from Biden. We now know who the shooter has been identified as. We've got some photos and some, reading the tea leaves of his political history, which is confused to say the least. So we'll bring you all of those details. Also, mounting questions about the state of security at this rally and how this individual was able to get these shots off, how he was able to come within inches of taking the former president's life. So I'm going to go through all of this. I want to start, though, at the beginning with what unfolded at the rally. Of course, this is disturbing. So just a warning before we get into any of this. I'm going to show you the full video. It's about 1 minute and 45 seconds. You can see the moment when former President Trump realizes that something is going on. You can see him duck. You can see the Secret Service come in and take action. You can see former President Trump striking a defiant pose and telling the audience to fight, fight, fight. Let's take a listen to all of this.
Take a look at what happened.
Move his fair. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Hawkeye's here.
Hawkeye's here. Move it to the fair.
Fair, get ready.
You ready?
Shoot it down.
Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, let's shoot down. Let's shoot.
Watch out.
Wait.
So just an unbelievable image to watch there. And as you could see blood on one of his ears. We since have indication from him. And by the way, some extraordinary images have come forward that I'll share with you in just a moment. But that a bullet did graze his ear. That is what caused that blood that you see splattered across his face. He has been seen in public since then, walking unaided, and the officials are saying he is safe. So, but when you're talking about obviously a bullet grazing his ear, you are talking about inches away from taking his life. And as I said, let me just show you this image that was captured by I believe this was a New York Times photographer, White House press corps colleague Doug Mills. I don't know if you can see in this photograph, this that they have circled here, that is the bullet coming right at him. This same photographer captured moments after this when Trump feels something on his ear, and then a moment after that, and he looks at his hand and he sees blood, and then after that, that's when he gets down. But just look at that image capturing a projectile, a bullet aimed right at the former president's head. Just absolutely astonishing. So, of course, immediate questions raised about how the hell this could happen. You have Trump has Secret Service protection. Everyone has to go through a magnetometer. going into these rallies. So how was someone able to get in with a gun? Well, we now know the shooter was actually positioned outside of the rally area on a rooftop. And in fact, and I'm going to show you this later in the segment, there were people who saw him, who were just outside the rally, locals who were standing nearby, who wanted to hear what the former president had to say, who saw this man walking through a field, climbing up on this roof, bear crawling across the roof with a gun, and were trying to get anyone's attention possible to indicate, there's this guy with a gun, bear crawling on a roof. This is an incredible security threat. So he was spotted beforehand. Let me just show you a map of the scene so you can get a sense of where the shooter was in relationship to Trump. So you can see this is the approximate area of the stage, they say, where Trump was shot. This is the whole area is called the Butler Farm Showgrounds. This is a county that's just north of Allegheny County in Pennsylvania, so just north of Pittsburgh. And this rooftop here is the location of the suspected gunman's position. So what I've seen has indicated this is about 150 yards away, which may sound like a lot, but if you are a trained marksman, is apparently not a very far distance. So just incredibly fortunate that with whatever security lapses occurred here, that the president was not seriously injured. Horrifyingly, though, of course, you do have a rally goer who was killed and two others whose condition remains unknown, who was described as being in critical condition. Let me show you next some of the footage that has just emerged of people who were there at the rally before the shots ring out, who on the ground spotted this shooter, this would-be assassin, and are screaming, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. And then you hear the chaos ensue as he begins to fire. Let me pull this video up for you so you can see what this was like on the ground, just sheer chaos. Take a listen.
And that's a little bit. He's got a gun! Stay over here.
So again, I know this is disturbing. This is what we know at this point. So you can hear them say, he's got a gun, he's on the roof. They're screaming, trying to get someone's attention. And then you hear the shots ring out and we know what unfolds from there. So since this event, we have a statement we actually have a couple of statements from former President Trump. Let me go ahead and read you both of those and put this first one up on the screen. He said on Truth Social, I want to thank the U.S. Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. We do have some details now that we can bring you. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place. Very Trumpian turn of phrase. So I realized then what was happening. God bless America. His later statement I can bring to you as well. Let me go ahead and put this one up on the screen. This one occurred after that one. This one was from this morning. He says, thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday. It was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness. Our love goes out to the other victims and their families. We pray for the recovery of those who were wounded and hold in our hearts the memory of the citizen who was so horribly killed. In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win. I truly love our country and love you all and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week from Wisconsin, signed DJT, referring there to the fact the RNC is hours at this point away from beginning. We have gotten word from the RNC and from the campaign. It will go on as planned, so no changes there. But obviously, I mean, just an insane moment in history, a horrifying one that has really shaken the entire nation. We also have the first video that was released by Trump's team of him walking unaided down from his plane. You can take a look at this. So you can see just him walking down, no problem, handling the stairs. And so this put out, also as a statement of defiance, and also just to show that he is okay. Physically, he is fine. Let's take a look now. President Biden put out an initial statement on Twitter, and then he gave a short statement. He was at his beach house in Rehoboth, Delaware, when this all occurred, and gave some brief comments just condemning, as everyone else has, political violence. And we do know also a couple other things. His campaign has suspended their advertising in a show of the gravity of the situation. And we also know that former President Trump and current President Biden spoke yesterday evening. We don't have any details on that conversation, but let me give you a little bit of what current President Biden had to say yesterday evening.
Based on what we know now, I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that the people and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well. Number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much. And I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay.
He did take one shouted question about whether this was an assassination attempt. He had demurred at the time. Now we have, an official determination that it is being investigated as an assassination attempt. I know this seems obvious, but they want to wait and make sure and all those things to try not to speak out of turn, which, listen, when something like this unfolds, obviously there is wild, rampant speculation. There are all sorts of things floating around online that are untrue. So, sticking to the very specific details of what we actually know in a moment like this, I think is, in fact, incredibly important. All right, so let's talk about what we do know, because at this point they have released the name of the shooter, and we can have gleaned some details because, of course, everyone wants to know, okay, well, who is this person? We still don't know what a motive was, but this individual summed up some of the reporting that is out there. And this is consistent with what New York Times and others are reporting, even though this is just some random guy on Twitter. He just happened to sum it up well. So the shooter is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He is a local Pennsylvania resident. He is 20 years old, just graduated from high school 2 years ago. So he donated in terms of political activity, He has no social media profile that anyone has been able to turn up so far. I saw some speculations. He may have a Discord, but none of that has come up. We don't know what was going on there, if such a thing even exists. Donated $15 to Act Blue the day of Biden's inauguration when he was 17. That went to some sort of progressive PAC that says they're fighting to restore democracy. So very sort of, standard liberal progressive type indications there. On the other hand, 8 months later, he registered to vote as a Republican. One of the photos that has emerged, he's wearing I believe of him when he is at the rally getting ready to shoot the president, he's wearing a t-shirt of a gun YouTuber. Now, what others are saying is that this gun YouTuber happens to be very apolitical, but certainly indications that he's a gun enthusiast. Reports are that he used an AR-15 rifle to commit this attempted assassination. And then this person says somehow the only 20-year-old on earth without social media. So that's what we know at this point about the shooter. We also have a few images that I can bring you as well, so you can see this person. Oh, well, first, let me show you this. This is footage that has emerged of him opening fire. And let me put this up on the screen. There isn't a lot to it, but you can see him here in this part. And so you can just see him there on the roof, and then when the shots ring out, the camera jolts, and you can't see a lot more after that. But that, just to give you a sense of his position and where he was. So this has opened up, obviously, a whole hell of a lot of questions about how this was able to happen. And as I mentioned previously, a lot of questions about people who had seen him before and were trying to get the police's attention, trying to have something done. How was this allowed to unfold? Here are the photos that I was referencing before. This is from the New York Post. I also want to say there are a lot of photos and videos that are circulating online that are not Thomas Matthew Crooks. These are the only ones, these three that I've seen that have actually been verified of this individual, this would-be assassin who killed a rally goer, injured two others, and shot the former president of the United States. So those are the images that we have. One of the most stunning videos to come out was an eyewitness that I mentioned before, who he lives locally. They wanted to come out, Trump supporter, wanted to hear what the former president had to say, and they spotted this individual with a gun bear crawling up the roof, gave an interview to the BBC after this all unfolded. Let's take a listen to this and what he had to say.
Yeah, Carl, we've been talking to a number of people as they've been coming out of this horrific event. A lot of people very emotional, a lot of people very upset, as you can imagine, a lot of people very, very frightened. Greg was someone who was here. You weren't inside the event,
nope,
but you were just outside. Tell us what you saw.
So we had a party here all day. At the you can see behind us at the Brinkles Farm and Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up. And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, but we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes, Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he.
So that's in essence what he had to say. And of course, listen, I'm no security expert. I don't know what goes into planning for an event like this, planning for the protection of president and former president. But of course, you have to ask if random individuals, this guy, people who were at the rally, who I showed you the video earlier, were screaming, he's got a gun, he's on the roof. If they were able to spot this threat with a gun, why was the rally allowed to continue? How did this unfold? How did such a stunning security failure unfold? Notably, law enforcement gave a press conference yesterday evening. Notably, there was no representative from the Secret Service there. The Secret Service has come under fire, by the way, from all sorts of directions recently about their competence. We'll reserve judgment. We're working to book a security expert, by the way, for the full show tomorrow to talk through some of these things, to get an expert perspective on what could have gone wrong and whether it is possible to fully prevent these sorts of threats on the life of the former president, current presidential candidate, from occurring. So we'll save some expert analysis from that. But very noteworthy, the Secret Service was not represented at that press conference, and also noteworthy what the FBI representative had to say, indicating that they were surprised that this shooter was able to get so many shots off. Let's listen in part to what they had to say.
From what you've been briefed on, it sounds like law enforcement only knew he was up there until shots were fired. Is that what you're hearing?
So that is the assessment at this time.
So are you surprised that a sniper was able to fire off a handful of shots at the former president? I mean,
again, we're still working through the security apparatus that the Secret Service had in place, what potentially happened. That there's going to be a long investigation into exactly what took place and how the individual was able to get access to the location, what type of weapon he had. All that it is really days, weeks, and months of investigation.
He was able to get off like 4 or 5 shots.
It is surprising, but again, to get all the details of that will come out later in investigation.
Going back to the perimeter of this building, I think it's going to be really difficult for people to understand that this building, a very high vantage point, some 100 meters away from where this is happening, isn't part of that perimeter. What goes into that conversation over what is in and out of why wouldn't that be?
Again, the Secret Service really needs to answer that question. They conduct the initial site survey. They do the initial security assessments and determine where the different security locations should be. And they're the ones who are in charge of securing the scene. We, along with other state and local assets, are there to support the Secret Service and their mission.
So a lot that's very noteworthy about that answer. First of all, him saying, yes, I am surprised that this sniper was able to get this many shots off to come within inches of killing former President Trump, to kill a rally goer, to injure 2 others. Yes, I'm surprised by that. Number 2, when asked, how was this area not within the secure perimeter, given that it's an ideal vantage point to perpetrate such an attack? He says, that's really on the Secret Service. They need to answer those questions. We're there to support along with local law enforcement, but this is really their show. And which, of course, begs the question, okay, well, why isn't there a representative of the Secret Service there to answer these questions? I think that in and of itself is noteworthy. So there's going to be a lot more that we learn today. This is an extraordinary situation. And, I think these security questions are going to be some of the huge topics of conversation over the coming days, weeks, and months. As I said before, we're headed into the RNC this week. Of course, this is a time of great tumult on the Democratic side of the equation, with President Biden facing all of these calls for him to drop out of the race, given his level of decline and incapacity. So his response being very, very closely monitored, and continuing, high level of political tension in the country and an incredibly tumultuous and fraught political environment overall. So it's the very latest that we have for you this morning. If anything major breaks today, we'll bring that to you as well. Otherwise, Sagar and I will both be in the studio tomorrow to break down every single thing that we know, and are working hard to, bring on experts and such to fill out the show as well. So thank you guys, as always, for trusting us with this kind of coverage, and we will see you all very soon.